so many people have come to us saying, deep down something's not normal, and we find out so much from this.
When you get those results back and then we can like tie what we're seeing to your symptoms, it just connects so many dots and you have it all laid out for you. You're so depleted. You're in this dysregulated state. There's no more denying it.
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of The Wellness Effect. Today, we are diving into minerals, and they are so important. They're the spark plugs of our body. And we're also going to talk about one of our most favorite tools to help understand minerals, which is the HTMA test. So, we're going to get into what exactly minerals do, how imbalances might show up in the body, and exactly what you can start doing today to support your minerals. So, this is so important. Minerals are very often overlooked and they run literally every system in our body, our metabolism, our hormones, our thyroid, energy production, fertility, detoxification, mental health. The list just goes on and on. So, we're really excited to talk about this today with you guys. But first, we might chit chat a little.
A little chit chat. I can talk about I had my first somatic therapy session. I can't remember if last week I said that I was going to go do this, but yeah. So somatic, for those that you don't know, it is a form of therapy, but unlike talk therapy, where you just talk about your emotions and what you're feeling and your patterns, which I have done a ton of and kind of went a little bit hardcore on that. And then by the end of it, I just didn't find it super helpful. I feel like it made me very aware of like all my patterns, my problems, everything like that. But by the end, it felt like I was one, smarter than my therapist in some ways. And two, I just felt like I was almost like searching for problems at that point of like and dissecting my whole entire life of like, oh, well, what could have this possibly triggered? And so that's why I kind of chose to stop talk therapy. But I do think there is definitely a huge time and place for it. And I don't want people to get the wrong idea that it's not valuable, because it is very valuable, especially kind of in your early stages of self-development and just working on yourself, or if you're like going through something major or like a major change. I think it's really good to just have that sounding board, but I kind of felt like I outgrew it. So I took 2023 and 2024 off hard, and then it was almost like my intention to not do self-development, because I just was on like a 4-year journey at that point of fixing myself, and it almost came like, what else can I fix? What else can I fix? Where else am I not perfect? And so I just was like, okay, Lacey, just like appreciate the fruits of your labor and live your life and don't try to fix everything. And so I did that. And then I've just been kind of craving it recently. Plus, we had that. I think we told the story about our dad's grandma. Yeah, we did last week. And so that kind of inspired it. Plus, we are on our trying to conceive baby making train now. So I just want to, if there is anything going on in my womb, I'm like, get it out of there. And then also the anxious attachment style. So I sign up for this somatic session, which is where you try to move stored energy, stored emotions, and people will have really big emotional releases. And so I was like, I'm just going to go. I don't know what to expect. I also talk about somatic therapy a lot and tell a lot of our clients that they should do it and invest in it. So I was like, it's probably good just to have like an experience regardless of the outcome. And so we went in and we just talked for a little bit. I had to fill out like a very in-depth intake form, and she like asked about my birth and like all relationships and how the relationships were and like the dynamic with my parents. And so I kind of like laid everything on the table in the intake form. And then when I got there, we almost just like she asked me a couple questions about it. We overlooked everything. She like explained the nervous system a little bit, and it was totally funny because I knew exactly what she was talking about, but I had to pretend like I never heard the information before. I was like, "Oh my gosh, no way. We hold on to stored emotions and they appear as symptoms? Like, get out of here." Um, and so, yeah, I had told her I had done a lot of work and everything like that. And she's like, "Okay, well, we'll just see like what comes up." So she did. Oh, I had the word in my brain and now I forget it. But it's pretty much because there's different types of somatic healing. And so hers was a touch one. And she pretty much touches opposite sides of your body, but in like certain places. So she like touched my shoulder while she touched like my spleen. And then she did like my left adrenal and my right adrenal. And then she did like my ankles and somewhere else.
You're
And she
like,
pretty much,
that's where the adrenals
yeah, I'm like, ah. She's like, yes, they're little almond size on, I'm like the size of a Brazil nut,
nuts. I love Brazil nuts.
Um, and she just kinda, like, held me there, and anyways, I ended up falling asleep and, like, dozed off, and I, like, twitched, like, when you twitch, and I'm like, "Ah!" And so it was very relaxing, like, I had no emotional release at all, but then to think about it, I'm like, falling asleep, in a sense, is an emotional release. Um and so that was pretty much it. I just, like, fell asleep and she, like, talked really nicely and, like, just touched certain parts of my body. So it's crazy to think about how people have insane energy releases just doing something as simple as that. But I think that style is more for people who are currently going through something crazy and they're, like, very, very, very dysregulated. Um, because she said after, she's like, "No one's ever fallen asleep, especially in their first session." And she's like, "That's a massive compliment to me because you obviously feel safe." I'm just like snoring. No, I'm just kidding. But she's like, "Honestly, you feel pretty regulated." And then I asked her, I was like, "Okay, so, like, do I come back? Like, is there a cadence? Like, do I come once a week? Like, once every other week?" And she's like, "Yeah, like, you've done a lot of work. Like, you could come in, like, 2 weeks if you want." And then she's like, "I'll send you an email, like, I'll put everything into the email, I'll let you know about, like, how you can book in," and she, like, gave me this sheet and sent me on my way, and then she just never emailed me. So I'm like,
She's like, "Huh,
"Okay."
maybe she fell asleep too in there."
Yeah, she was an older lady. She was really cute though and, like, really nice, but, yeah, I don't know if she just knew it wasn't, like, worth the investment for me, but it was just weird, like, I would've just told the person that, you know what I mean? Like, "I don't think that this is what you need, like, I think maybe you need something else," but I'm definitely craving more of the spiritual stuff, which I've said feel like I've been saying for a long time, but it was definitely nice just to go in there and be like, yeah, you just pay attention to yourself, which is always good. So, it was good, it was learning experience. I don't think I'll spend another $150 for a nap, but but I think that style, yeah, is definitely more for just, like, you're currently super dysregulated because you just go in there and it forces you to relax and
Yeah.
forces you into parasympathetic, and that's the whole point, is it brings you from,
Right.
fight or flight into rest and digest, but
So I was gonna ask, like, what would someone that is dysregulated get out of that, and what did she like, after you were done, she was like, "Alright, get going." She didn't, like, give you any
it's
information
she just
about.
said it's like a slow burn, and it's not something that it's not like you walk out of there and you're, like, crazy, but I've had friends who have done somatic, and they'll, like, have shakes, or they get, like, crazy heat sensations, or it, like, really, really hurts and, like, almost cramps up in certain parts of the body, and then that kinda, like, tells her whatever she needs to know or whatever, but I just didn't really have
Right.
any reaction because I don't even think I'm, like, constantly in fight or flight anymore. I think I'm pretty stable. I know there's, like, stuff in there that needs to be released, but who knows? Like, it's why it's like, am I just trying to, like, fix something
Find
that's not
something.
even a
Yeah.
thing? But I think it's good I tried anyways, because now I know, because that thought was always in my head of, like, should I be
Okay,
doing
this is
more?
why it's kinda cool, the lady that I go to, because you do and I just went on Friday, you do, like, an hour and a half of, like, talking. It's not therapy. She, like, pulls cards, so it's very, like, spiritual, and talks to your spirit guides, and she's like, "What's coming up for you in life right now? What are your top 3 intentions? Like, what are you struggling with?" And then you kinda go through, like, the face value of it, and then you go into, like, the spirituality of it, and then you do, like, a somatic piece at the end, so it's, like, really in your brain and in your body. You should almost try book in with her when you're out here, Lacey,
Yeah, no, I
honestly.
would love to. But yeah, I feel like that is something that I would maybe like to try, or yeah, I don't know. So, we'll see, but that's my underwhelming report on my somatic therapy experience.
Maybe it's like normal therapy where you just kinda have to, like, look around a bit for someone that works for you, but also at the same time, like, there is something to be said about, like, you don't need to search for something if it like, you know what I mean? If
No.
it's not, but I know you feel like there is something there, so there's probably something to that, but I think similar to what you're saying with talk therapy, sometimes there's a component of people, like, searching for something
Oh, yeah.
wrong.
No,
Yeah.
100%. So, we'll see. I'm gonna keep trying things out because I'm just, like, craving that, but, like, I'm like, maybe I'll do a Reiki session or some other spiritual thing, but that's a good thing. I should just try to get in with your girl when I'm
You
there.
should. She and okay, this is so cool. I'm excited to sorry to just jump in, but my last session with her, she's like the one I just had, she said, "This is so weird." She's worked with hundreds of women. She's like, "I've only done body work on one other person who has done, like, deep, deep mineral work like you have." Ding, 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 minerals. And she said the way that your energy and your tissues feel in my hands is, like, so soft and pliable, and the conductivity of the energy is so, like, raw and strong. She's like, "A lot of people will
Wow.
feel like corduroy, like it's, like, tough and stringy," and she's like, "You're like Play-Doh," and the only other person I've ever felt like that is someone who has done, like, really deep work on their minerals as well, and I was like, "That's the coolest fucking thing I've
You're
ever
like, "Can you
heard."
say that again while I hold up
Yeah,
my
like,
phone, please?"
you record the whole session, so I actually was recording when she said that, but how cool is that?
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, just, like,
So, so cool.
energetically, and that's the second, like, person I've had tell me that, like, my muscles and my body and the conductivity is so strong in the last year only, which is kinda cool, and I think minerals play a big part in that, so stay
They
tuned for
do.
more mineral talk. Okay, so I also had a little surprise baby shower this weekend, which was, like, the craziest. I am not an easy person to surprise, like, at all, and I had no fucking idea, which is, like, so hilarious. I'm embarrassed
Wow.
when I, like, look back on it because, like, so 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago even, my friend Randy was like, "Are you busy this day? Like, let's do a pedicure." And I was like she's like, "Pedicure and go for lunch. It's been too long." And I was like, "Okay, sure, like, whatever. This is a little tiny bit weird, but we're both so busy." I'm like, "I love this. Let's get something on our calendars. Like, let me put the date in." And then I just, like, remove it from my mind. I have, like, a play date with my friend scheduled, and I don't have to, like, think about it. And yeah, Marina, I guess, kind of planned the whole thing. I don't really know for sure, our other sister. And so Randy comes to, like, pick me up, and, she's like, "We're going for lunch and then a pedicure." I'm like, "Oh, what time's our pedicure at?" She's like, "I don't know, like 1 or something." I'm like, "Well, shouldn't we, like, get going, like, if we're gonna eat and then get, like, in time? Like, I wanna, like, enjoy it." She just, like, wasn't rushing, and, like, so many things should have tipped me off, and then we pull into the parking lot, and I see, like, my mom, like, a car that looks just like our mom's, and I'm like, "Oh, that's weird. That's the same color, like, little SUV as my mom's." I'm like, "Oh, it's also an Audi." I'm like, "Oh, it also has, like, the same thing hanging in the mirror that my mom has." I'm like, "That's my mom's car." Then I start, like, kinda panicking. I'm like, "What's my mom doing at this restaurant, Randy?" I'm like, "What is she doing in there? Like, what if she's, like, in there with a random," like, I don't know what's going on.
We thought she was
Sorry,
having an
mom.
affair or
No, I don't know. I
plotting a
just was
bank
like,
robbery or who knows what could happen.
but there's a hotel right, this is so bad for me to be saying, but that's what was going through my mind. I'm just like, "Oh, maybe she's in that hotel." I'm like, "Oh, maybe she's booked some weird, like, healing session and the person's at that hotel because that happens in Lloyd, like, someone will book a room for a day and fill it with, like, healings, and she's like us, she's always on the woo-woo. So I'm freaking out walking into Randy. I'm just like, "What if my mom's in here? Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand why that's my mom's car." Like, never even fucking crossed my mind that, like, she was there to see me. And then we, like, walk in, and the guy at the front is like, "Are you here for the big group?" And at the same time, I was like, "No." Randy's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What? What the fuck?" And then we come around the corner, and, like, all my friends were there, and they had, like, a big gift and balloons, and
Aw.
yeah, it was
Did you cry? I feel like I'm gonna cry right now for some reason.
I didn't cry. I was just like, I couldn't even I felt so embarrassed because I just went straight to the seat that had, like, the card on it and just, like, sat down and, like, looked at my menu. It was just like, "What the fuck is happening?" And part of it is, like, probably 2 weeks ago, I sent out invites to Ellie's birthday party, so a lot of my close friends have kids the same age as Ellie, so there they get 1 invite to something from me in October, and then, like, a week later, I sent out the invite to this Motherway thing that I'm hosting, so they got another invite from me for, like, a solid date in October, and I'm like, "'Kay, we're not doing a baby shower, like, this'll be it." So then for all those exact same people to now have had to show up for, like, a baby shower, I was just like, "Oh my god, you guys, what the fuck?" So I'm trying to
Aw.
practice, like, receiving, and it was really beautiful and special, and everyone went in and got us this, like, fucking dope ass wagon stroller that I've been talking about nonstop, so it was awesome. It was so
Oh, that's
nice.
so nice.
Yeah, it was
So
great.
special.
Yeah,
So
such a good.
special. Well, to make this about me, I'm at Lacey's house right now, and which is kind of crazy. But Lacey and I couldn't figure out how to record in the same room, so I'm upstairs and she's downstairs in case anyone is
But the
wondering
paint's the
why
same,
my
so you'll never know if you're watching on video.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, should we dive into it, you guys? I hate to keep us going, but we're trying to stick to a timeline lately and
Okay, guys, so what the heck are minerals? We're going to talk a little bit about what they are and how they work in the body. So, they're really the raw material that your cells actually need to function. Very often, they're called the spark plugs of the human body. So, I like love thinking about that. And I even picture them as like those, what do you call those things in like the panels in the houses and like when one blow, like a fuse in your house. So if it's like this one's for the dryer and this one's for the dishwasher and like when one blows, it's just like nothing's going to work. So when you don't have that raw material, that plug to put in, like the whole train of things aren't going to work. So they also have really important cofactors. So oftentimes, especially when we're talking about the HTMA test, which is the one that we use in practice with our clients, the hair tissue mineral analysis, you might think, oh, my magnesium's really high or my potassium is really low. So I need to stop supplementing with magnesium and I need to eat more potassium and take a potassium supplement. But what's really interesting about minerals is that they really work in balance with each other. They are not isolated. So they have something called cofactors where each mineral has other minerals that it also requires in order to function properly. So for energy production, for example, we need both magnesium and potassium to kind of work together. So we'll look at the um, ratio of those two together and we can kind of see what's going on with energy. And then for thyroid and hormone balance, we want selenium, iodine, and zinc all working really well together. Our nervous system requires a good balance of calcium and magnesium. And then for things like detoxification and even gut health, we want that sodium, molybdenum, sulfur, and zinc all really well balanced as well. So I think something to really kind of pay attention to and to know is that our soil and our environment, they just make deficiency so common. So I would say, like Lacey always says, we've never seen an HTMA that's perfect. Even our own, like we're still all three of us and are really actively working through our HTMAs and getting our minerals to a good place. But just knowing that like it's not your fault, I think is something that's really comforting to and important to hear. Like we live in an environment that not only pumps us full of like toxins all the time, like we have processed food, we have chronic stress where a lot of us have been on some sort of medication, whether it's birth control or even like painkillers or SSRIs for long, long periods of time. These things all deplete our minerals. And not only that, the food that we're consuming and that our food is consuming is really, really depleted because the soil has been depleted through agricultural things like tilling and things like that. So it's really hard nowadays to just have really solid minerals in place. And I think that testing them is just such a massive role to the point where every single person that goes through our program now gets the HTMA test. And Lacey's going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But I just think if it's something, if you don't really know where to go, if you don't really know where to start on your healing journey, like minerals would just be such an incredible place. So, Lace, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the HTMA test?
Yeah. Yeah, because we definitely look at the hair tissue mineral analysis as super foundational because if you are super depleted in any of those things, like all of those things that Kira mentioned aren't going to be working properly and it's hard for your body to handle a more intense detox protocol or whatever. So we really love starting with the hair tissue mineral analysis and at its core, it's exactly what it sounds like. We take a little small sample of your hair, or a couple small samples of your hair, usually from the back of your head, and then we send it away to a lab and they measure the levels of the different minerals and even the heavy metals stored in that hair. And kind of like the difference because we'll hear a lot like, "Oh, I got my minerals tested through blood." And there's definitely a massive difference and the hair just plays such a different role because what's important to understand when you get your blood tested is it's, like, tightly regulated by the body. So, for example, if your, let's say, like, blood calcium drops too low, your body will actually like pull calcium out of your bones just to keep your blood levels stable, because if they fluctuate like even a little bit, it can be really dangerous. So blood work is great for identifying more like emergencies or acute issues, but it really doesn't tell like the full story of what's happening over time. So hair, on the other hand, it acts more like a mineral memory card, let's say. So it shows what your body has been doing like over the past 3 to 4 months, and it just really reflects longer term trends, and what you're storing is, or what you're storing, what you're losing, and how stress is really like impacting your metabolism, your hormones just behind the scenes. So it's not something that you can really even compare to a blood test, and that's why we always prefer the hair. It just tells, like, a way better, clearer picture of what's actually going on, and the HTMA doesn't just show you, like, single mineral levels, it also shows you the ratio between those minerals, and that also tells, like, a deeper story, and I'll just kinda quickly go maybe, like, a couple of the ratios that we talk about or see a lot. So there's the sodium to potassium ratio, which Kira mentioned, and that's also often called the stress ratio. And so if it's low, it usually means your body has been under long term stress, and it's directly correlated to how resilient your adrenals are. So obviously, over time, if you've been under a lot of stress, your adrenals become less resilient to that stress. So we can tell a lot about how your body deals with stress through that ratio. And then there's the calcium to potassium, which is considered the thyroid ratio. So it tells us whether your thyroid hormones are actually able to get inside your cells and do their job, which explains why so many women are told their thyroid labs look fine, but they still feel like all of those common thyroid symptoms like cold or sluggish and exhausted. So it's really cool. Like, we're not even testing your hormones, but we can kind of see how your hormones, your thyroid specifically, is working, which I just find fascinating. And then there's the calcium to phosphorus ratio. So that shows us your metabolic type. So whether your body is running in a more like slow oxidizer, it's called mode, or fast oxidizer mode. And this can explain why some people feel better on higher protein and fat, while others need more carbs. So it kind of just depends on your metabolic type. And then the last one is the sodium to magnesium ratio. So this is your adrenal ratio. So again, it just kind of shows us how well your adrenals are handling stress and that energy production. Um, and then on top of your mineral ratios, it also shows like hidden toxicities, I guess. So things like mercury, lead, arsenic, aluminum. I think that's the only ones, right? Yeah. Um, and these are often
Cadmium.
the root cause of symptoms that don't make sense or that your doctor just can't explain. So you might feel fatigued or inflamed or have brain fog. And it's not until you see these metals showing up on a hair test that can kind of like puzzle piece and click everything together. So it just tells us so much information. Or even, for example, for me, I had, and same with Kira, we both had the silver fillings, and so they are 50% mercury, made of 50% mercury. So we had very high mercury show up in the first, what was my first HTMA? I'm not sure about yours. Got it removed and then retested, and the mercury was gone. So it's,
Okay, I just have a quick story to tell about that because I find that so interesting. Because I did an HTMA on someone and they had high mercury and they're like, they forgot to tell me they had fillings. They're like, "Oh, it's the tuna I eat." And I was just thinking like, yes, if you're eating like so much
We
canned
do also eat
tuna.
a lot of tuna.
Well, so do I, but like I was just like,
they,
that just seems so high. Like
yeah.
that doesn't
And
make sense.
yeah,
And then she went to the dentist. I was like, I have high mercury. And he was like, a can of tuna, one can of tuna is going to impact you more than these fillings are, is what he
Ew.
told her.
no,
Run
because
from
it's
that
literally a
dentist.
constant stream of, yeah, pretty much from like what I've read is if your mercury is that high, it's not from like sushi or tuna. It's like that shows that it's like a consistent thing going into you always. So,
Yes, and when you chew, it, like, releases it, so it's like
well, and
any
there's
sort
so
of
much what's that other mineral that's in tuna that like doesn't it like cancel out the
selenium.
selenium? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's a side tangent. But no, we love the HTMA, and it's definitely been a massive game changer for our clients. And especially like so many people have come to us, you know, are slogan is like, "Your labs are normal when you don't feel normal." And it can just feel super frustrating, but we know or they know deep down something's not normal, and we find out so much from this HTMA and we just love it, which is like why Kira said we incorporate it now. Every single client gets it, and it's also because, um, we've never had any come back normal, so it's just super foundational, but it
It's
really gives
cool
us the
too because it kinda, like, puts on paper, like, you can't deny your stress levels and your energy levels and your metabolism rate when it's on paper. It's like, "Oh, your body is struggling." And most of the time we think it's gonna be like, "Oh, I just take this magnesium and I'm, like, good to go," and but it's usually so much more than that and so much deeper than that, and it's more about the, like, lifestyle. We'll get into exactly what you can do, but I just think it's so interesting that we often think like, "Oh, I'll just get my HTMA test and I'll get my perfect little mineral blend and then everything will be good." And like we can all attest to the fact that it's literally like your kick in the ass to actually slow down and like make the changes that you know you need to make in the back of your head, but you just haven't quite done yet for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
such a validating test. Like that's what I found when I first did it. And that's, I think, what a lot of my clients find. I think we think we're going to like be so excited about the Dutch test and the GI map. And obviously that can be so validating for some people. But when you get those results back and then we can like tie what we're seeing to your symptoms, it just connects so many dots. And it really helps, even I would say, with people's like buy-in to the things that they need to do because like Kira said, you have it all laid out for you. You're so depleted. You're in this like dysregulated state. There's no more denying it. Like you can't like outwork your way out of this spot
Mm,
anymore. And so yeah, it's just such a good test. And something I think I just want to quickly mention is there is some things out there that like says that they're not valid and or consistent, but a lot of those studies are done on people that aren't taking specific measures. So maybe they haven't waited for their hair dye to grow out, or maybe they're using like a certain type of shampoo that has high amounts of, I think it's selenium. That's in a lot of like the
Yeah, or even like zinc
anti-dandruff.
sunscreen I've had my clients use and it show up on their HTMA too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And
you have
so
to
we
be
try
like a
to
little
make,
detective.
yeah, you have to like try to take out as many variables as you can, but you can get really just crazy interesting results. And as you start to make these changes, you can also see them work. Like we do a second test, we see that we've been really intentional with adding potassium, lowering our stress in our food, and then adding that supplement based potassium. Boom, our potassium goes up. Or maybe it doesn't, but that's because maybe we haven't been as intentional as we needed to.
Slow and
Um,
steady on the potassium. If you
yeah,
know, you know.
exactly. Yeah. So,
but and I think just
yeah.
one more part before we move on is like they are very like root cause and foundational. That's why we start with this test because it's even like what I can't remember if I said it or Kira said it, even about the thyroid, right? It's like if you're depleted in these certain minerals, your thyroid is not working the way that it should. So it's like if you went in and got your thyroid tested, sure, your thyroid might not look optimal and your levels might not look right, but we don't know why, right? So it's like if you actually think that these are the spark plugs to your body, if one spark plug is off, like think about your vehicle, right? It's like, well, we don't know what's wrong. We don't know if anything is wrong, or do we just need to change the spark plug? Like, we don't know. It could be a $5,000 job or it could be a $20 job. And so that's why we love starting with this test so much, just because 70% of people they'll think they have these crazy hormonal issues or the crazy gut issues or so exhausted or whatever, and then we just like replenish their minerals, and like 70% of our clients were like, oh, this is awesome, like I feel so much better, and then they don't need that further in-depth testing because a lot of the times it will come back to your minerals anyways. And so it's just a good thing to kind of think about because we always get that when we're talking to potential clients. Well, I'll speak for myself. I guess I do. He's like, "Well, what about my hormones? Like, are we gonna test my hormones?" And I'm like, "Well, that's why we start with this because it's like the hormones isn't gonna tell us anything, right? When you could just be lacking one or two specific minerals and then you'll feel so much better." So, yeah, it's really cool. But
Yeah, and even
So
like
cool.
with thyroid, like you go get your thyroid tested, okay, you have low T3 or whatever, you get put on a thyroid, da 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 da. But if you don't have the minerals, like sodium and potassium are what's called intracellular and extracellular, right? So they are required to actually move thyroid hormone in and out of the cell so that your body can use it. So, okay, yes, you can go on this thyroid medication, but if you don't have the minerals in place to bring that into the cell, then it's kind of just not going to do that job that you're hoping it will do anyway. So I think that's what's so important to understand. And like what I talked about in the beginning is they are what is like doing all the jobs in the body basically. Like you can't have any of it without your minerals. So
Yeah, and even, like, blood sugar, like, you can eat all the ways you possibly can to balance your blood sugar, take the supplements, but
yeah.
if you're low in things like magnesium and even vitamin D, chromium, like, your body's gonna have a hard time, like, shuttling that insulin into your cells and regulating your blood sugar, so it's just all related, but I'll kinda move into some signs of mineral imbalances. I'm mostly gonna talk about the macro minerals, so the main ones we kinda look at, so are sodium, magnesium, calcium, and potassium, and then I also put, one extra one that we kind of rings, usually, like, signal some alarm bells when we see it high and or really low on a HTMA as well, so we'll start off with actually, I wanna start with calcium just because that's the first one we see on the test, so calcium's a really, really cool one in the sense that if it is dysregulated, there are and especially if it's very high, there are a ton of symptoms that we're gonna see. So, calcium is supposed to be mainly 99% in hard tissue, so our bones and our teeth. When we see it high on this HTMA, that means it has moved into our soft tissue because our hair is soft tissue. So, now we're seeing it outside of that where we want it to be, which is our hard tissue, and we have a ton of issues that come with that, and that's called a calcium shell, and that impacts, at that point, everything that is able to get in and out of the cell as well. So when we see high calcium, we see things like joint pain, we see a lot of, like, apathy and emotional symptoms with a lot of these that I'll talk about. So it's not just, like, these physical symptoms like fatigue, pain, it's a lot of, like, anxiety or apathy or depression or, like, feeling overstimulated all the time, and so that's something we wanna think about as well. Um, but the cool thing with high calcium is it actually, like that calcium shell, like, blunts our ability to, like, feel these emotions, and so as we start to break up that calcium shell, one of the main things we need to, like, have in place for our clients is a lot of, like, emotional support because there's so much of these emotions you haven't actually felt, and we see so much, like, apathy with these people. And then as we start to break it up, these emotions start to come. We're able to like process these emotions that we've like pushed down for so long. And so we always try to have those like emotional supports in place. And I've seen this with a client. I did an older client's daughter, and she had like the highest calcium I've ever seen. And the main thing that the mom was talking about with her daughter was just like how flatlined she is and how like apathetic she is. And so that was just like so interesting to see
Yeah, and
that.
I just wanna quickly tell the story about my me and Kira when we both had our a calcium shell because
Yeah.
our uncle passed away, like, almost 2 years ago now, which is crazy, but we both kinda tested pretty close after that, and that's something that they say in a calcium shell, like, if you see it, oftentimes that person maybe experienced, like, a recent death or something because it's,
Or
like, so
trauma.
much emotion and your body's, like, trying to protect you from it, which is just like this stuff with the what's the word that I'm looking, like, for, like, how it is connected, like,
Correlates, yeah.
blows my mind, like,
Yeah.
our bodies are so crazy, but yeah, so me and Kira both had you had one too, right, Kira, or am
Yep.
I making that up?
Yep.
Yeah, we both had a calcium shell, like, months after my Uncle Brad passed away, and then we retested, like, the next time, and then it was gone, like, it's just, like, so
It's
crazy.
crazy. And your
Yeah,
body's doing it to, like, protect yourself, right? Like, it's so interesting in that way, but we have to, like, then return the favor and protect our body
Yeah.
back
yeah.
in a way, right? Um, Another cool one I think with high calcium, so the bones are a big one. So, like, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis is, like, a huge, huge one, and it's interesting as we start to replenish that calcium and it starts to move back into that hard tissue, some people will notice, like, they get joint pain, they get muscle pain as it's moving out of that soft tissue back into our hard tissue, which is cool. The last one I'll talk about is premature graying. We see a lot of that, and a lot of the times that's associated with that calcium. Once again, calcium's a like white gray mineral. And so like think about when something like calcifies. And so when it moves into our hair, it is that like white mineral. And so we see a lot of the times when it's not in that hard tissue, it moves into our hair. We see premature graying, which is kind of interesting.
It's so interesting because I was thinking about this because I was gonna make a reel, because everyone always says like, "Oh, you're stressing me out. You're gonna give me gray hair." And it's, like, funny how true that actual statement is, but I'm like, I fear people don't actually realize, like, the scientific
Yeah.
behind it, but it's like, that's actually what's happening when you are chronically stressed. You get depleted in that, and then you get premature gray hair, and it's just so funny how everyone says that, but
Yeah,
It's
it's
you don't
true.
crazy.
really know why.
Any things else we want to add for calcium?
No, I love it.
No,
It's
that
such
was
a
really
good
good.
mineral.
Okay, next one I'll do is magnesium. So magnesium is really, really cool because like Kira was saying, these like cofactors, they're like synergistic. They all work with each other. So magnesium is really, really helpful for keeping like our calcium in check, right? And so they always work together. Low magnesium is a big one. I think magnesium has gotten a lot of what's the word?
Publicity.
Yeah,
Attention?
publicity exactly in the
It's
last
like the
little
Kim
bit, and like
Kardashian
it
of
actually is.
minerals.
Everyone's on magnesium, all this stuff, which is great, but if you don't have the other minerals to keep magnesium in solution, then you're just peeing it all out, and that's why we need to focus on more than just one mineral. So with magnesium, it's actually called our heart mineral, and so when we see low magnesium, we'll see a lot of kind of heart issues associated with it. Super low magnesium, I don't want to scare, this is just for educational purposes. I'm not a doctor, but that's when we really want to pay attention to it because it is something, an alarm bell for more like serious heart issues down the road. It's also the relaxation mineral. And so that's why a lot of the times when people have like anxiety, you'll hear people say, like, oh, I'm taking magnesium, blah, blah, blah. And there's tons of different kinds of magnesiums, which honestly is like a podcast episode for another time. We also see when we're low, we see things like anxiety, irritability, and then greater deficiency risk, I should say, when that sodium potassium are high. When we have high magnesium in the hair, a lot of the times what we're actually seeing, and this is why we don't want to interpret these for face value, is like I was saying, you're supplementing with a lot of magnesium, but you don't have the minerals to keep it in solution. So it's coming out of the hair. And we actually see it be like a loss tendency for when we see actual high magnesium. So you'll usually see those symptoms associated with like low magnesium when it's high, is typically what I say. I'll keep going if there's nothing else you guys want to add to that one.
No, you're killing it.
Okay, sodium, love sodium too. Once again, people are so scared of salt. Like, we need salt. We don't need table salt. We need good quality salt that's actually hydrating us. And a lot of the times when we get these actual good quality salts, and we can link some in this episode, is that they usually have other minerals as well. That's kind of like mimicking that balance that we see in like our day to day in nature, right? And so by having that balance, that helps. But we really want to try to be adding and salting our food. If you're eating a whole food diet, a lot of the times you're very prone to being low in sodium, because why people get too much salt is they're eating a lot of processed junk that's like has a crap load of salt added to it. If you're eating a ton of whole foods and you're not salting your foods, you're going to run into the problems of having that low sodium. So when we see high sodium, a lot of the times we see high sodium driven by like more stress patterns, but we see a lot of PMS symptoms with super high sodium. We see like water retention, which makes sense. We see like edema. So if you are that person that like swells really easily, maybe that is something we see. We see a lot of like aggressiveness, like irritability, that snappiness. So if you feel like you just cannot keep your cool, once again, it might be time to look into your minerals. And I think that's something we all can relate to, is that for me at least, that's been a huge thing, is I've noticed a change and a shift in my like irritability. We see estrogen dominance a lot of the times with sodium. So to what Lacey was saying, a lot of the times these minerals that we're seeing, and when we are looking at our m- hormones, these minerals are very important for keeping our hormones, quote unquote, balanced. And then low sodium, we see a lot of fatigue, chronic infections, allergies is a big one. If you have like seasonal allergies, a lot of the times are going to be like deficient in a lot of these minerals. That's another thing that I've really seen change for me. We also see like low sodium feels like you're just spinning your wheels all the time. And then liver and kidney stress and low stomach acid are actually something we see often with that low sodium. And then moving on to our favorite mineral that deserves more publicity
Woohoo.
is our potassium. That is very, very hard to increase, everyone. And we're all working on it in different ways. But um, when we see high potassium, we see it associated with a lot of skin issues, whether that's like oily skin. We see it associated with a lot of GI issues. So that can be like loose stools. We see it associated with, once again, like anxiety, irritability, and then a lot of sometimes we see it with like specific weight gain. So you'll see more like you have that weight around your midsection. This is high, and a lot of the time, sometimes that's a loss once again, or it's like another stress driven pattern. Low potassium, fatigue, sugar cravings, a lot of the times because that difficulties with that insulin regulation and insulin uptake, as well as blood sugar regulation, poor immunity, chronic infections, low stomach acid. And then I'll quickly, actually, I kind of rushed through that. So, do you guys have anything to add to potassium?
I mean, I could talk about potassium all day. No, I'm kidding.
What else do you want to talk about?
It's just I think it's just so funny, like, our whole team has, like, super low potassium and everyone all of us are just, like, trying so hard to get it up, and it's I feel like it's a hard one because like, sodium, it's like, "Oh, I just, like, increase my good quality salt," like, magnesium, whatever, but to actually get food source potassium is, like, tricky, and it's often low, so you have to be so intentional with that one specifically, I feel like, but I just found
And
out
you can,
pumpkin seeds have a shit ton of potassium in them, so
yeah,
put those bitches on
and
everything.
Make sure you
magnesium.
read your label when you're buying your pumpkin seeds because I bought a massive bag for like $40 and there's canola oil in them
Whoopsie
from
daisy.
Costco. So read the
Which
label.
you could
So
return.
annoying. They're so good though because they're like
Yeah.
roasted. They're
Yeah.
just like so salty and delicious. But
Still get a little bit of
Yeah, mine
potassium
are,
in
like,
there.
plain organic, like, the only ingredient is pumpkin seeds, so they're not even, like, oily or
Good.
salty, they're just yeah. Gotta
Yeah,
put them in my yogurt
potassium
bowls.
is a hard one to bring up. You need about 4,700 milligrams is like the baseline, like what you want. And I guarantee you, if you just like track your
Daily.
potassium on a random day, you're probably like maybe getting 500 unless you're being like super diligent about it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not an easy one to bring up, but we have like a resource with different um, minerals and stuff. So we'll remember to link that in there as well. And then the last one I like to talk about is cobalt because cobalt is so interesting to me. It shows us a lot of insight into our stomach acid and our liver function. And so I'm just kind of using this one as an example to show you guys that it shows us, like, once again, our adrenal function, our thyroid function, our metabolism, our um, energy levels, our nervous system state, like seriously everything. It also tells us about like what is our liver stress like, what is our stomach acid, and then from there we can try to add in some more supports in that department and then we know okay, maybe we have to kind of go a little bit deeper with a GI map. So when we have both low and high cobalt, a lot of the times we're seeing things like liver stress, low stomach acid, and then with that comes B12 malabsorption, and that can cause a myriad of different other issues as well. But a lot of the times we often see that high or super low cobalt. If we run a GI map afterwards, we'll often see H. pylori is present with that specific marker. At least I've seen that a lot, which is really cool. Um, so yeah, that's just another one I kind of wanted to mention. I could keep going. Like copper's a really big one. That it's just like I could go on and on. The issues that we see with like synthetic vitamin D supplementation. Maybe we'll do that in our next week's episode of supplements.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, anyways, I'll kind of end it there and we'll kind of move into practical steps.
But
If
I
that
think
sounds
what's
good to you
cool is
guys.
I wonder actually we should have looked at this, how many minerals like, just to give you guys an idea, like, Jensen just covered 5, and I think you get, like, 20 minerals on your HTMA test. So for that level of insight and how
Let
they
me look it up.
correlate to yeah, to that many symptoms, it's just like what Jensen said, it's such a I always call it my aha moment with my clients. We almost always cry. Like my clients always cry. We're crying a lot in my house. But yeah, it's just like, holy shit, like this, and this all line up with what I thought was strictly hormonal, strictly gut health. Like I thought I knew what was going on, and this just gives you that real sense of like, even like some practitioners I've seen or like naturopaths or doctors are just like these functional lab tests aren't necessary. And it's like for women who've been gaslit for so long, being told like these things are just all in your head, to just have on paper that you weren't wrong and that there was something off balance, I think is just a priceless tool, whether you do a big protocol or not. It's just like, okay, I wasn't wrong, and it gives you like this drive to
Yeah.
do the protocols and like move through it. And
And, like, the
like,
naturopaths and doctors saying these tests are useless, like, what's useless is the 18 million supplements you're throwing at people that you don't even know if they're absorbing, like, how about we start there?
Yeah. Ugh, ugh.
yeah, exactly. But yeah,
But
I
no,
think
it's
it's just underestimated, that feeling of like, "Oh, I'm not crazy, I wasn't wrong." Like, I always tell people this too. It's like most of the time I ask my clients now when they start with me, like, "What do you think is going on with your body?" And the main reason is so that when I get their first HTMA test back, I can be like, "You were literally exactly right." And almost every single time they are.
Everyone's right.
Yes, it's so
Um,
cool.
30 different minerals and then 8 different heavy metals.
so
So,
that's crazy. And what we usually do for each client is they get like a what, like 20-ish, 15-20 minute Loom interpretation of us like going through the whole thing, connecting the dots, explaining everything. You also get like what, 6, 7, 8 page document of like the summary of findings,
18.
which it's just like down to your body shape, like where you store. It'll be like, oh yeah, we see this ratio in pear-shaped women. It's just like it just blows my mind every time. In a lot of like, it'll even say like, oh, in people pleasers we see this, or in whatever. So it's just yeah, it's awesome, and it's just so foundational that I don't know, we kinda think everyone should do it, and it's almost like Kira always says, like, it's kind of like the multivitamin, that's what you should be taking. You shouldn't just take a random multivitamin every single day for the rest of your life. It's like, get your minerals tested every 6 months, and if you just, like, keep them in optimal range, like, the difference in that people feel, it's just crazy. Okay, should we go into some
should we go into
action items?
solutions?
Heck
Into
yeah.
some solutions?
So yeah, we have a few different things that we will focus on in our um, protocols for clients. So usually we touch on all of these different points. And one of the most important ones is nutrition. So, of course, like we say, eat whole foods. Like literally, if you're focused on eating whole foods, if you're getting in like a variety of different protein, animal protein, eggs and meat and seafood, and, like, mixing in root veggies and lots of, like, good fruits and things like arugula and greens, and dairy and a good quality sea salt, like, if you're getting those in on the daily, that's a really great starting point. But then we'll also look at your individual mineral levels and your ratios and give you, like, really concrete ideas. Like, if you do have low potassium, here's, like, 10 ways that you can start incorporating more potassium. So, like, coconut water, potatoes, pumpkin seeds,
Avocados.
avocado, bananas, like, we give you lots of cream of tartar. So, we'll give you those, like, individualized kind of specif what am I trying to say?
Recommendations.
Yeah.
Recommendations, thank you. But really, if you're, like, someone who's like, "Well, I can't work with a practitioner right now, I don't have that," I think focusing on sodium and potassium, like, get a good quality salt and start watching the potassium in your food, because most of the time people are, I would say, like, I've never seen someone with, like, outrageously high potassium on a test, and if they are, it's usually a loss due to stress. So just, like, we all need more potassium, so kinda working on those 2 is always a really great place to start. And then our water is so, so, so important when it comes to minerals, and even, like, what we were talking about before, it is depleted. Like, our not only is our soil depleted, but I heard this once and it just stuck with me forever. Like, the way that humans were meant to take in hydration and water was like down a beautiful stream that flowed down a mountain and went through like the old calcium deposits and magne and like all the minerals were in the soil and the rocks of the mountain, and then it flowed to this like beautiful spring, and that's where we like should be drinking our water from. And now we're like pumping it, like we all drink like well, we don't drink it, but if you are drinking like tap city water, it's like filtered, and of course, when we're filtering our water, we want to take out all the bad stuff, but it's also removing all of those like beautiful minerals that our body actually needs to absorb the water and the hydration. Like that hydration cannot get into your cell if you don't have these minerals on board.
Yeah, that's why when you even, like, implement a water filter, we always just say, like, you need to make sure you're remineralizing, because then you're taking out even more of the stuff that we need, and you're not hydrating yourself at all if
Yeah,
you're just
because
using a water filter
water
without
doesn't necessarily
hydrating.
hydrate you. It's the
Yes,
Yes.
minerals
minerals and
in
the
the water.
sun. So we love Aussie Trace Minerals. It's like one of our favorites. It's on Amazon. It's third party tested. It's great for kids. Like just start there. It's inexpensive. And so you need to be filtering your water like just you do, and then adding some minerals back into it. And there's kind of like a floor and a ceiling of remineralization as well. Like I have some minerals that are like $2 a day. Like they're expensive and they're in these like glass ampules and they're like seawater from Sweden or some crazy shit like that. And then I have my Aussie Trace minerals that are like $1 a month. And that's super affordable. And I put those in everything. So you can kind of like play around with that. And it's a really great way to just overall support your mineral levels. And there's brands like Beam Minerals, Quinton. I think those are the other 2 that kinda come to mind that are good just for, like, general mineral support if you're looking to, like, invest a little bit more as well.
Yeah, love that. And then, yeah, I can kind of go into the lifestyle one. So, stress management is a huge one because, yeah, you believe it, stress burns through mainly like magnesium, sodium, and potassium. And we see a lot of depletion in these three minerals in the tests that we do. And so, yeah, it's just important to actually do it, schedule it in, put it in your calendar. I always say, like, we all know what to do for stress management, but it's hard for people to do it because it doesn't feel super productive. It's not checking something off your list. It's not like getting you ahead of your day or whatever, but it's almost like you have to think about it as it's like taking one step back to go five steps forward. Like you're going to end up being more productive. You'll be more in control of your emotions. You'll feel better if you just prioritize it, but it's so easy to skip. So just like with anything, schedule it into your calendar, make an appointment with yourself, and then actually do it because that's the only way stress management works. But you also have to have the right intention going into it because we definitely find even with some of our clients, it's like, okay, you have to do like have a bath. And so they put like have a bath on their checklist and then they like go into the bath and they like take their clothes off and they check it off their list and they're like sitting in the bath and they're like, I hate this. Like it's like it doesn't work like this. It should feel relaxing and you should feel better after it. And so it's like to have that self-awareness that yes, you need to do stress management, but you also have to like self embody the stress management and like let it do its thing. And then also, our other favorite thing is your sleep and your circadian rhythms. Minerals actually regulate your melatonin and your cortisol. And so that those are just so intertwined with your circadian rhythm. And so it is important that you're prioritizing it, focusing on your light environment. I think the best thing that you can do is just again limit that blue light before you go to sleep and really try hard to get some morning sunlight in. We've been talking a lot that about that a lot, especially as the seasons change, but again, it's just so crazy that like you could have the perfect morning routine and seeing the morning sunlight and the blue light, but if your minerals are trash, it's not going to do much to your melatonin and cortisol. So, prioritizing that. And then, so also just starting to pay attention to your environment and almost think of it as just like lessening the load, specifically with toxins. So, kind of starting to switch out your plastic containers and your Teflon pans and all the stuff that we always talk about, all the things. If you've seen mine and Zach's funny viral reel that we swapped out in that, but really starting to lessen those loads because that will impact your minerals and then also impacts your heavy metals.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah,
something
just
just interesting I wanna add there is that where your, like, heavy metals reside in your cells is where your minerals should be, and so if we have this really high heavy metal load, then we're going to see low minerals, and so it's really, really interesting. We've seen this with our clients. I've literally had someone say to me, like, "Every time I drink water, I get a headache, so I don't like drinking water," and a lot of the times it's because sometimes if you have that like burden, you start drinking water, then it's pushing those heavy metals and you're hydrating. It starts to push those heavy metals and moves you into that detox phase. So if you're having those reactions, you really need to ramp up your drainage. But just by remineralizing, you're helping your body move into a detox and get rid of those heavy metals that are laying dormant in your body. So just something interesting there. And then in terms of supplements, so I'll kind of do this together with testing. At the end of the day, we really recommend doing testing before supplements. We see a lot of the times people throw these random supplements when we get their HTMA back. If they have taken this random multivitamin, taken zinc, taken vitamin D without like K2, whatever it might be, we see far more imbalances than we do if someone were just like eating whole foods. And so it's really, really important to test, not guess. Like it's so, I can't stress it enough. Now, if we are going to be taking supplements, if testing just isn't in the realm, because we want to be giving you guys some actionable steps, good ones to take, I think, are magnesium. Kira was just saying this before we got on. Like magnesium is one of those ones that's like a lifelong support, right? Those Aussie trace minerals, like Kira was mentioning, that's going to be a lifelong maintenance support in terms of supplements. Salt, a good quality salt is another one. I would say like you almost can consider that a supplement. Like if you're spending all this money on supplements, you may as well like put that towards a good quality salt is another one.
Well, and even like
Um
vitamin C, but that one is great to get from diet. I just think you need to like maybe be aware, download an app that helps you track your micro nutrients or whatever, and just start incorporating more vitamin C rich foods because it actually helps us absorb a lot of the minerals like the sodium, the potassium. It's why our adrenal cocktails have orange juice or lime or lemon juice because we need that vitamin C to like carry the minerals and absorb them. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I don't necessarily recommend it as a supplement, but just being aware of some foods that it's in. So, like citrus fruits are great, berries have a lot. I think like peppers have lots of vitamin C too.
Yeah, or we haven't, oh my god, you guys, we haven't talked about nettle tea. That's actually
Oh
crazy.
my god. How could we
We have to
forget?
restart. So, like, when we talk about hydration, like nettle, like doing, like steeping your nettle tea overnight, add some of those mineral drops in there, add some like lemon in there, like how good you feel
Mm,
after is actually
damn.
crazy. It's like you may as well have had a coffee, you feel so good. So,
no, and that's
that's
just
a
like
really easy
one
one.
single habit, you guys. Like if you just get that habit out of this episode where you brew nettle tea overnight in the morning, add trace minerals, add some lemon, like the impact of you doing that for the rest of your life it will be crazy. And like the difference, I mean, we'll never really know because you can never compare your life compared to if you didn't do it. But that's just like something so small and so easy that's not going to change your current life too much in terms of like having to do all these crazy new habits or anything. But it's like, yeah, the compound effect of doing that is it's going to be a game changer. So,
Yeah, it's so supportive in so many ways. We
yeah.
love nettle tea.
Yeah, we
Should do
do.
a nettle tea episode.
Yeah. Nettle tea. We love
Well,
you.
then we need to
Forgot to
find a
make mine last
company
night.
that will sponsor us to do that.
Oh,
Um, in terms of, yeah, and then I would just say like testing, reach out to us. A lot of the times, from what I have heard, most naturopaths honestly don't do them from what I've like talked to a lot of people. So just reach out to us. But there are like other people out there, but I
And
would
it
just
is a
reach out to us.
complex lab. Like between our team, we've had probably 4 different programs that we've all now gone through. The training is endless and lifelong, and we learn something new every single HTMA that we get from a client. And it's why a lot of practitioners don't use this lab because it takes
a
a
long
lot
time.
of work to interpret and understand. So I think just knowing that and like reaching out to someone who specializes in it, understands it, knows how to read it, and then also like apply it to your life is really important.
Yeah, it's like piecing together a puzzle. It's pretty crazy.
So
Um,
cool.
yeah. Okay, you guys, thanks for listening. Please remember to share, leave a review on your streaming platforms. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we drop new episodes. Love ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Wellness Effect. We're so grateful to be part of your wellness journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram. We'll put all of our handles in the show notes. If you have questions or ideas, slide into our DMs or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep creating your own wellness effect.